شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Hajj Memoirs, a new daily show journeying through the stories, reflections, and inspirations of the sacred pilgrimage Hajj. So, over the next 10 days, join me as we delve into the heart of Hajj, exploring the experiences, lessons, and memories that shapes the lives of pilgrims, both from local Hujjaj and from Hujjaj in the Holy Lands. From the moments of joy and wonder to the challenges and triumphs, we'll share it all with you. Prepare to be inspired, motivated, and transformed as we uncover the beauty and essence of Hajj, one memoir at a time. Now, in this debut episode, I'll be interviewing one of our faithful and rather inspirational guests, to me at least, as she conducts her regular weekly tafsir shows on the channel, and that is none other than Najma Ansari. Originally from Rome, Italy, and now a resident, South African resident, for the past almost 30 years now, alhamdulillah. Najma Ansari will be sharing a rather diverse Hajj story from a different era, and her experiences will most likely be vastly different from those of modern day pilgrims. Let's welcome Auntie Najma, no stranger to the studios. Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Welcome.
I know. We welcome each other.
Exactly.
Mashallah, mashallah.
So, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all the viewers. And jazakallah. And because it's from another era,
Yeah.
I would like to concentrate on what's take home for today.
Okay.
From that time,
So we've chatted in between, and I've heard just like so many highlights that I want to ask you about and question and look at and sort of understand. But something that is not familiar maybe to where you came from is like sort of the accreditation process.
Yes.
You decide when you want to go. I know with my mom also there was no agent. Okay, they'll book their tickets through an agent, but you go on your own and you rely on the muassasas. You actually find a Makkah citizen or Medina citizen and you live at a bait. So now we're going to hear a bit of that story, inshallah. So what is your experience like performing Hajj in the 1977s? I believe that the groups wasn't compulsion. How did the deciding of going to Hajj, how did that impact you as an individual? And let's talk about journeying on your own. Who all went?
So, alhamdulillah, it's true from Muslim countries you did go as a group. But from Europe, it was maybe having to recruit a group, but we didn't. So we went kind of like locals from Saudi Arabia. So we flew to Riyadh. We had some local friends there, expats, and they were going by road. So that's a group we joined. I think we were only 10 to 12. And in a convoy of 3 cars or 4 maybe. We didn't even have combis or other things like that. So that happened. And so
say that again, you drove from?
Riyadh down to Medina.
Medina, okay.
And it was maybe 16, 17 hours, no highways, they're just those mud roads maybe, a bit raised kind of road tracks they had.
And of course you flew in from
Italy to Riyadh.
To Riyadh. Okay.
And so we stayed, we collected there and people. So you still had a sense of a group, but there wasn't a muassasa, there wasn't a leader. Even when we got to Medina, I don't remember. On Umrahs, we did have local guests, you know, the what you're saying, a local citizen to whom they would help you. But on Hajj, I don't remember that. And Allah forgive me for whatever lapses I have in my memory of it. But that was beautiful. And then when we came to Makkah, there was no azizia. There's no azizia, so I don't have a great recollection of a hotel that we had, but it was a bit far. And the first time we walked to the haram for Umrah or in Ihrams, I remember, you know, what of that era, the things that highlight is simplicity. Simplicity to the T, generally in life, but specifically. So because you had to end up carrying your flip-flops or whatever you had, what happened is that we decided we're going to go barefoot. So barefoot through
Gravel,
marshes
mud,
kind of and everything.
okay.
So it was, just because there'd be less. Just before we got into the haram, we had our water bottle, we washed our feet if we were already in wuzu. But to me, that also from a European, walking barefoot on the roads was not something, so it was just an interesting.
Culture shock.
Yeah, yeah. But it was lovely, in hindsight. And I'm so glad for the preparation, if we can have, if nothing else, that you don't go criticizing. You don't go rolling your eyes. Ooh. And, when you're kids, you would tend to do a bit of that.
Yeah.
And my dad was always there. No, you just take it, and see. And I think for me, the Hajj at that formative growing years, it left really long memories of don't judge, don't criticize, take home, always use your imagination for take home a good message.
Okay. So it was also the winter season.
It was a winter season.
How did that affect your experience on Muzdalifah?
Yes, interesting. We did go semi-prepared. We didn't have forecast told to us before. And just for your information, this that I'm wearing is from my Hajj.
No kidding.
And
Do
1970.
you ever wear it again?
I do. Often, like now, it's winter again, so it keeps, so it came in so handy. Again, for the simple, if you don't go branded.
And you especially put it on today to show our viewers. Okay,
so it was there. I had to sort of rummage through where is it? But alhamdulillah. So basically, it worked for Muzdalifah in the cold at night. It worked for other things when we didn't have anything else. On the way out of Arafat, you just put it down and you sort of sat on it or did what. So Allah's mercy for a lot of learning in that period.
And your time in Mina, because you went straight to Medina?
We did we did the Umrah, and I think then we went straight to the tent city, and there were tents, but because it was small families, we had like a partition for the men of our people at one side and the women on the other side. Maybe the same concept of those beds folding, mattresses. I can't remember, but very rustic, basic.
Were the Hujjaj divided like they are now into countries?
Not at all. Not that I know. And if they might have been, I do remember even in those days when people from the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, they did tend to group with their own. But because we went with the locals, we were kind of somewhere in between. So no muallim, no nothing to guide you. Whoever was the leader of our, we did our own thing.
And it was your first trip to the holy cities?
No. The other thing I would say, it's beautiful if you can do Umrah. Because if you can do Umrah, you know the layout, you know some idea, and you have done a tawaf without the crowds. So that is different, challenging, but if Allah has decreed you must do it with the crowds, you must do it with the crowds,
So you also mentioned that we were speaking, you went with your mom and dad and your siblings, and your dad, who was a very strong pillar in your family as well. Just chatting to you previously, he was the first Muslim to establish a mosque in Rome.
Yes.
So I can only imagine what your foundation was like, mashallah.
So alhamdulillah, look, in Europe from the 60s, late 50s on, there were no Muslims. So, you had to, so we didn't grow up with the madrasa education. But the beauty, how Allah puts barakah in everything you do. I actually finished the Quran when I was age 19. So I was so embarrassed. My whole cousins, the whole crew, everyone, you still haven't read the Quran, you still have. What that does to you, it keeps you then, but from that day to today, I never left it. That kind of thing happens. So same with the desire. And I'll tell you, I was the one, my dad had already done his Hajj, that I told him, I said, Dad, I don't know what my future is going to hold while I'm under you and I'm baligh now. You'd better get me to do my Hajj. And he managed to. My two younger siblings, my sister wasn't baligh, and she, but nonetheless, we did it as a family within a larger.
Were there any other families that did it together? Any other children were?
There were some other children and some elderly people too, so we fell in the middle bracket. And what I loved with that experience is that I eventually was, I'd like to think, a support to one of the elderly ladies. My mother was too busy with my siblings and so on, but all of that was just beautiful.
So I want to talk more about the weather, actually, because that's for me an interesting one. You've been on Umrah again recently and seen what weather is like. Your time in Hajj, during Hajj 1977, was it cold all the time? Or were they
No, it wasn't. In fact, in Mina, I don't remember it being so cold. In Arafat, not at all. So it was only in Muzdalfa that you felt the need for something warmer. You did carry it with you because it worked as a blanket at night. I don't think we had any air cons on, just because maybe it wasn't the done thing. There might have been fans. So weather and this was a November Hajj, a late November Hajj. I don't remember. Medina was colder.
Yeah.
Makkah was not. Muzdalfa was the coldest of these places, and basically because you were out under the sky also, you know. So weather-wise, and I've done it in 40-degree umras, and Medina, and I do know about flaking out and, you know, just about losing it. And there was a time when, you know, in Medina where you really feel you're seeing the angels now, because it was that hot.
So
in those days when there wasn't all this paraphernalia of sprinklers and this and that.
And your experience with the Zam Zam, okay, you've had Umrah before, you went on Hajj and also had Umrah now. What difference did you experience with, you know, seeing the Kaaba, the Zam Zam, you know, all of that? How different is it?
Early on, late 60s, and I'm trying very hard to remember if in 77, maybe for Hajj time, you used to have stairs going down to the Zam Zam well. So I think at Hajj, they didn't have that. They just brought the drums up and you had it. And so much so, before that, they actually had oilskin, sheepskin or oilskin kind of things.
Bags.
Bags behind the guy, and he would serve you. I actually wanted to bring the cups. They have a very broad rim or whatever you call it. So everybody would drink
quite
from
wide,
yes,
almost like a bowl.
Yes. So and then you realize, you know, I said, no, I'll take mine. But in those days, you also learned there's a barakat, there's a unity. You know, trust that nobody's got COVID, nobody's got, you know, that kind of stuff. So people used to want to maybe poo-poo, how can you be drinking out of a public cup? But it worked. So this was, and Zam Zam, I remember going down the stairs with my brother and everything, and they would just have these buckets come up, maybe mechanically, from the well, and they would actually, we've been bathed poured on. So that was fun. At Hajj time, because of the crowds, I don't remember going down.
I want to talk about your spiritual high during that time, and 40 plus years later. What is it like that you carried with you, like you said at the beginning? But after the short break, we'll connect with more with Najma Ansari and her journey of Hajj in 1977 on Hajj Memoirs. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum. This is Hajj Memoirs, and in this debut episode, we're wrapping up in the segment, and I don't want to wrap up with Auntie Najma because her story is so interesting and haven't even gotten through half of the questions as we're discussing her Hajj in 1977, and literally to go back in time with our special guest and also fellow host of Connect with the Quran. So don't forget to connect with the Quran on her show. But Auntie Najma, I want to look at now how, you know, just sharing, performing Hajj in the 1970s, back in the early life. How has your life, how have you stayed grounded because of that experience? And you said, you know, you said to your dad, let me do my Hajj now. I want to connect now before anything else happens. So how did that connect with your faith? And how did that culminate to where you are now today? I mean, alhamdulillah, still continuing with the Quran and your beautiful message.
Well, like I say, sometimes you have these beautiful experiences, and I think it's different from everybody. You can't sort of generalize. But for me, the highs were that I did it, and like another friend was saying, she did it early. She said, we didn't know what we were doing. You know, like this concept of 10 days, this is what you do. All that kind of ritualisticness of it, maybe just to a great extent. But I do know, and what I loved about, well, just generally tawaf, say and everything, that you connect from the heart. So you don't have to, you know, if I don't know anything more than Rabbana Atina, then that's what I stay with, whatever, and you speak it in your language. So that's a beauty. And it did then help me ground, because my mother only let me go abroad away from home for my university years after Hajj. And she sort of said that no, Hajj will ground you and keep her safe. And Allah's mercy, being on campus when you're the only Muslim can have its challenges, but because they know you're a Muslim, Allah said, the barakah of it is that Allah makes them defend you, protect you. That kind of, so all that throughout, there are landmarks, but at Hajj itself, I remember a time in Medina, there by the mosque, because that's got another piece for it. And I know the tawafs were a bit challenging for the crowd, and trying to keep the family together, and these big Amazon kind of people coming, big and bulky, and pushing around, because everybody liked to have their elbows knuckled in as a chain. But so there maybe I don't feel there was a spiritual high in that sense, but I found, my dad would say, well, if you can't do that, help somebody. That's spiritual enough. So that I loved. So then I said, look, Allah, I'm sorry, but I can't right now concentrate, or I can't even remember my du'as while in this crowd of being pushed and around. But what I can do is I can make way for somebody else. If there's somebody about to, a lady, just be of support to her. So from there too, from my dad, I learned, look out for opportunities where you can serve a fellow Hujjaj. At any level, even at the mosque, we sit, we want to take as much space as we can so that when our cronies come, we can, and not let another. And my dad said, no, everybody's got the qismat. Like your rosies written, so on the musalla, on the saf, just shrink a bit and fit in somebody else. Let somebody else fit. When we say 2 food can work for 3, so on and so forth. So those, whatever thinkings would evolve from Hajj too.
So looking at, your community and the importance of helping others and being connected, how did you navigate the multinational aspect of Hajj? Did you stay within your community? Your dad encouraged you to help others? Were they from your community?
Yes. Well, like South Africa, we've got so many languages. So if they were mostly maybe from the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, but there's so many lingos there too. So I don't know them, but you still got by. And the beauty is, I think back to Surah Kaf, when they talk about they didn't understand a word, yet you still communicate, whether it's signs or otherwise. So you did. I don't remember meeting people from Europe there at that time, but I know at airports, if you had anybody who spoke even close to Spanish, French, Portuguese, you could get by. And we were instilled from our dad the ability, just help. If somebody you feel struggling, oh, you're looking for that, it's there. Oh, you're looking for that. Just that much. Don't feel, well, he didn't ask me, so why should I? No, we were just trained through travel. So at Hajj, wherever, I just remember the elderly lady who I helped within our group of in whatever aspects. And there, maybe I don't really remember her name more or anything, but I do know it was valued.
And having the languages that you spoke, did it help in any way?
On Hajj, I don't remember, other than being at the airport. But not at that itself. But I do find, if inshallah Allah takes me again, I'm never going to stay in my tent. I'm going to be walking. I'd like to think of my bones and everything allow. Walking up, go to different, and that is the purpose of Hajj too, to meet other Hujjaj. What are they reading? If they're doing a zikr here, sit, join them. If they're doing something else there, because they do give bayans and that too in the 5 days of, that time there were so few, so I didn't benefit, but I do know that now those are the kind of things I'd love to do.
Often. How long did that spiritual high last for you
after
Hajj?
Yes,
after Hajj.
well,
just a quick question.
At the instant high, maybe very short, but it was something that's kept coming back, that kept coming back through the years of always going back. But this is how,
And do you think back of your Hajj back in the 1970s when you are on Umrah or you're visiting the holy cities? How things have changed?
Well, of course, things have changed. So you do want to compare, like at Medina, we could go right up to the Rawda. There was, and plenty of time, so much so the grill is there.
Got a book.
Yes, things like that. So lots of change, but then the beauty is the more things change, the more they're the same.
And some of the facilities, let's talk about it, Mina. A lot of us, still, have issues with that, but we go, and I spoke earlier to Hujaj, and, you were reminiscing how clean you feel, even though you're showering over a toilet. What sort of facilities were available to the Hujaj in Mina?
I think some of the memories just blank out, but I do, but the truth is that of the toilet, of the hole, and just using the toilet, 2 bricks on either side, and that's it. And, so much so that because even the surface isn't even, you don't even put your jug. You keep somebody outside the little curtain, and you ask them to pass you the jug when needed, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So that's how primitive. But then, the beauty is, when you go through these moments, there is a high. There is a high, Ya Allah, you made me go through it. It's only with your mercy that I wasn't, nosy, whatever it was. So all of that is beautiful.
So you've also experienced, you had some encounters with some special needs people, and you were talking about the elderly. How did your encounter and your interaction with special needs individuals, all the elderly, affect your Hajj? And what lessons have you learned through that experience for others?
Well, I would love to think, the Muslim nature, and if you want to think of the pristine Saudi, maybe not now, but then nature was that whenever they see a special needs person, they love them. And they try to be as kind to you. So because it was in our group, so because of him, if we got priority move or whatever, so we are smirking now, haha, thanks to him. Maybe he might have been irritating us. He was a young lad of deaf.
Because you can't actually take a wheelchair on the mataf now.
You can now. I don't know. In those days, you could take a you could, but no, because he was physically able. It was just he couldn't speak and so on. So he was walking with us around. But every now and then, somebody pushed. He would shout a bit louder, and then they say, "Yalla, yalla, let him go." Kind of let them go first. So that was all interesting, and also the barakah you see with those people is that he himself, because he was physically fine, it was just that he couldn't hear and he couldn't speak, is that he would nudge me and say, go and help her, look, she needs help.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of amazing goosebump moments of how Allah gives everybody in their fitrah to be.
I know shopping is not something to to talk about often on a spiritual journey, but what were the markets like there? Were there shops? Were there markets? Did you actually do shopping?
No, I don't remember. I just remember 2 words, the Sarafa, which is, I think, the money exchange place, and they did have jewelry shops. That's all I remember.
The jewelry shop.
Yes,
jewelry.
Gold shops, and they, no, maybe not at Hajj time, but they used to be left open.
Because like now, every shop is an abaya shop.
Yeah. No, so we had no, and so much so because you're mentioning abaya, and I've got this. My mother stitched my abaya, nice long, and yes, and she made pockets. So, like now you carry those travel things around you. So no, we had pockets in our abaya. I still have it. I couldn't find it. And Allah's mercy, because it was meant to be loose, so I still fit into it.
And quickly, you've brought some memoirs with?
Yes.
Please show us.
I didn't have any photographs, but what I will show, and when you talk about spiritual high, I'll show you. So this is the kiswa.
MashaAllah.
And it's not from the time when I did Hajj, but it's from the time of my mother's grand aunt or aunt who did it from the 40s maybe, or even earlier. So
you wouldn't think that it's like a navy blue color, but it is black.
It is. I think, sometimes black is so black that it looks
navy blue.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
So that is from that time. Yes, and the beauty, sometimes we talk about don't value things, but the tabarruk from those places, and I grew up seeing this in my mother's drawer, and I would ask her, so from a child I said, oh well, if she could, a great grand aunt did Hajj whenever she did, we should be doing Hajj too. So I think this also was a key moment of spiritually which grew. And I like the ideas, instead of thinking of spiritual highs, think of spiritual growths moment to moment, and every time there's one better.
MashaAllah. So much to leave us with, and I wanted to ask you so many questions, like how long did you stay, when you got back, what was it like, but our time has run out.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Auntie Najma. Always a pleasure chatting to you, and so nice to be
Alhamdulillah.
interviewing you
Yes,
as well.
alhamdulillah.
So we chat again.
Inshallah.
Hopefully we can
Okay.
share another story, because we were chatting about possibly doing a show or something else.
Inshallah.
But Jazakallah for your time, for sharing your Hajj story with your family back in the 1970s. Until we chat again, all the best. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Jazakallah khair to Najma Ansari. Thank you so much, Auntie Najma, for sharing her incredible journey and memories with us today. Her experiences and insights from Hajj in 1977 has definitely transported us back in time. Her wisdom and reflections has ultimately inspired us deeply, talking about having Hajj 40 years ago and still keeping it. Auntie Najma's story is a testament that the enduring power of Hajj to transform lives and connect us with our faith, our communities, and our own hearts is something that makes a difference. May Allah bless Auntie Najma for sharing her story, and may it inspire generations to come. Don't forget her show as well, and connect with the Quran during this Hajj season, and join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for another Hajj memoir. This time we'll be connecting with Hujjaj in Medina. So keep watching our channel for Hajj special programs during these 10 days of Hajj. May your life continue to be guided by the blessings and barakah of Hajj. Until then, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك